Welcome back to episode 73 of the Grappling Growth podcast with me, Joe Testori. On today's podcast, I had the pleasure and I had an incredible conversation with Eric Josovitz. He is the founder of AdaptCFO, and he has just released a brand new podcast, the Growth Under Pressure podcast, which was released last month, where he sits down with leaders of some of the fastest growing businesses in the US while uncovering tough growth moments with them. I'm excited. He's invited me onto the show, which I can't wait to go on. And just in general, you can see, you can feel the knowledge, the wisdom, his foresight, the way how this man looks to improve himself daily, not just with regards to his business, but with his family, with his fitness and training. He competed in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition back in February this year where he won a big fat gold medal. We speak about philosophy, Jiu-Jitsu, business. He gives really sound, not just accounting advice, but financial advice for businesses. You can just feel the way how this man is operating, and he's guaranteed to be a surefire millionaire. Anyways, enjoy this episode because I love shooting it with him. It's over an hour of jam-packed content. Thank you, enjoy it, and if you like it, subscribe please. Take care. As entrepreneurs, we all experience challenges in our business journey. I'm Joe Testori, and the Grappling Growth podcast is my attempt at documenting my entrepreneurial journey while building my brands. I sit down with fellow entrepreneurs, understanding how they grapple with growth. I hope you find value and enjoy. Eric, lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
You're most welcome. Eric, what does growth look like to you?
It's a very deep question, and I think we could unpack it a ton of different ways, but probably best to backtrack to high school for me. Even middle school and elementary school, I feel like growth, it just needs to be a consistent step-by-step growth in many different areas. It's, your health, your mental, you should always be improving on something. So, going back to middle school, I played the alto saxophone in 6th grade and I was terrible. I was really bad. By 7th, 8th grade, I had won the most improved award. And I was bad in school, but I ended up focusing in graduating, going to college. Same with football. I started in, my freshman year. I started late, but by my senior year, I was the MVP. And, my goal is always to be improving in something. And we do that with our clients too, always making sure they're improving. And so improvement and growth, they kind of go hand in hand. Ultimately, for me, I always want to be pushing myself to go to the next level. I just turned 35. I could say that, I'm growing in business, but my family, my health, my physical could be affected by that. So ultimately, for me, it's being well-rounded and consistent with growth. So, I did a jiu-jitsu tournament in February. I started a year ago and was able to be consistent going to classes, and that provided growth. So next year I'm going to say, hey, you know what, maybe I'll do 2 tournaments. Business, always pushing to say, hey, why can I not grow another 6 figures or, a couple 6 figures in revenue or 1 million, and have these targets that may be grandiose, like, earning a gold medal in jiu-jitsu at a tournament where it's only been a year since I started. Also becoming a father, and becoming a good father and growing in that. Like, I used to sleep all the time. I love sleep. I'd sleep late. I'm not like your typical entrepreneur. I sleep in till, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. But my kids taught me how to wake up earlier because I was
What time
forced
do
to
you
do
wake up
it.
now?
Yeah. I mean, my wife was the one waking up with our first child, my daughter, and I'd be knocked out. She'd be throwing stuff at me. Wake up. I'm like, I was fast asleep. She couldn't get me up. Now I'm the one that wakes up with our kids in the middle of the night. My son comes to our room and, to put him back to sleep, and I'm the one getting up. So it's ultimately, to me, growth is not just one-sided. It's growing across every aspect of your life, work, and your, your health and your physical and mental.
There's a lot to take away there. There's something I looked at a while ago, a term called hyper specialization, where you see these athletes or these high performers, they get really they excel compared to their peers within sports, but they pay the price in other areas. And the way how I look at it is, you have these blocks. So let's say there's 10 different stacks, and to get to the top, you need to get 10 points in each. And you've got, say, 50 blocks. So it's all about how do you spread these. Overall, the average you could get to is 5 across the board, or you could have 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 times by 5, and then the rest fails. And some people are willing to pay the price where they want to be hyper specialists. All they care about is jujitsu, entrepreneurship. Equally, there are people out there who care just about their family, and it's about what makes sense for you and what makes sense for us. And I really liked your answer with regards to growth, because it was very all encompassing with how it's focused on
Yeah.
family, health, wellness, fitness. And I think leaning into that point about jujitsu, which we spoke about when we spoke last week, and again,
Yeah.
congrats on the IBJJF gold. So
Thanks, man.
for you, looking at working on your athletic edge, how do you feel that's impacted your success in business today?
It's a huge part. I was kind of a captain on my football team in high school, and I played college football as well. So you get to see leaders at different in different areas. I train with world-class coaches. My coach he's an international, champions coach, and
Who's
he
your
was a
coach?
champion himself in UFC. His name is Ron Jucon Carnero. Um, Really just stand-up guy, fifth degree black belt. I'm fortunate enough to learn underneath him, and of course with all the other coaches that I could name a ton of them. The one thing that you learn from sports is leadership, the ability to get people around you to push forward in a mutual goal. It's not just, hey, and maybe because I've mostly played team sports, and that's why this was refreshing, to start doing jujitsu, because it's really what you put in,
Hmm.
you get out. And ultimately for team sports, it that's exactly what you need in the workspace. You need to get people around you and believe in the mission, in the vision, and be grounded by the core values. So, leadership, teamwork, hard work, oh, it all it all is, encompassing in that sports world. It transitions, almost identical. Mental, studying hours of film. I know in college we would get out of class and we'd have at least 2 hours of film every day, and then we'd go practice for a couple hours, and then still we would still go study at night. But just teaches you that you have to prepare, and I do that with my clients now. I have to prepare and make sure I'm ready
Hmm.
for every meeting. So yeah, man, there's so many different aspects of sports, both team and individual sports. In jujitsu, you know this more than anyone. It's perseverance, knowing that you can lose and get beat down a thousand times, but have you progressed? Have you grown? And are you ultimately going to come out on top with a win? It's still a net win, even if you've lost a thousand times.
Yeah. Talking about preparing for meetings, I think Alex sort of paraphrasing here, but he said 20 minutes of preparation to the impression of a client looks like you've increased your IQ by 20 basis points. And you see it so often where people aren't prepared for something, and you can tell if they just have, like, I've got notes right here on you and just things that we spoke about before, and it just makes you seem so much sharper. But it's just taking that initiative of, didn't take me long, and especially with AI nowadays, you can get transcripts and get summaries within 5 minutes. But it's just taking that extra care. Talking about the transition from team sports, because I was very similar. Over here we play football, known to you as soccer.
Hmm.
Quite often when you're growing up as a kid, you play these team sports. It's everyone's chasing the ball. Looking at that first, let's say the first few sessions of jiu-jitsu for you, how do you think you adjusted, and how much of a rude awakening was it for you jumping into jiu-jitsu?
It's so humbling. You only know how it is, and if you've actually done it. Think I rolled with my coach, and he probably tapped me out like 20 times in 2 minutes. It was just like,
Not too bad.
yeah, it's like, you can someone can kill you that many times in a couple minutes. It makes you take a step back in life. So, and I lose every week in jujitsu, but I'm also seeing my progress. I'm gonna get my blue belt soon. But I now go up against white belts or blue belts that are strong. These are strong guys, and it teaches you that it's so much more than mental. And now I'm starting to understand the flow of things, which of course translates to business as well. It's not all just strength and work hard and show up and grind, which it is. You still need to grind and focus, but it's really mental. It's about working smart, you know, taking notes afterwards, going back over what you learned in order to progress to another move or to, you know, a flow roll, which is like going from a move to another move and it coming naturally. And I think to your point early on preparing 20 minutes, over time it changes the scale. So like, you know, 10, 20 years ago, it may have taken me 2 hours to prepare for a finance review, an executive presentation or something, and now it may take me 30 minutes, and it's probably the same in another 10, 20 years. It may take me 10 minutes to die. I mean, with AI's help as well, it'll give you the talking points, but it's a scale, and you progress and you get better, and ultimately you can become an expert at anything if you show up and be consistent.
Literally, a lot of it is just to do with the research. You could probably do 2 hours worth of research on a topic, something very specific, and you'd probably be ahead of maybe 80% of the global population just off your
Yeah.
research. I was in a coffee farm in Colombia 2 months ago. I was going through there, just learning about different uh, how coffee is farmed in different areas and what gives it its value and what makes it more aromatic and whatnot. Are you familiar with the 4 stages of competence?
I'm not.
You've probably come across it before, but it's when you start something, you have unconscious incompetence, then you have unconscious competence, and then conscious incompetence. So that's kind of
Mm,
starting to you're starting to
yep.
get thinking, actually, I'm an idiot. And then you have conscious competence, where it's muscle memory. It's like doing your laces and just making yourself a coffee. You know how long to just do stuff for and how long things take. And you build these stages, and this is where I think maybe the next generation that's coming up. And I remember doing some research into millennials, but they've got this desire for just wanting to skip 2 or 3 of these stages and just getting to the end outcome where they feel consciously competent, but they don't actually know the ins and outs of what they're doing. So it was a real, it was the first thing that sprung to my mind when you started talking about these growth stages, and so applicable in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much that we do. I think they said it's like 90% of our day is it's like unconscious. It's just automated, right?
Yeah.
So it's really tapping into and just being conscious and aware that you can push yourself and expand that. It's like the Limitless movie, where you take a pill and you're you're not just using your subconscious 90% of the time. You're actively learning, and if we I think if we push our brains hard, we can advance more than, and also using technology, but that's where we're gonna have to that's where we're gonna have to go. It's, it's either, I'm sure you've heard this, the middle's going away, right? It's gonna be the creative leaders, the ones that can have AI at the forefront of their work, and then you have the other folks that are just doing the data entry or the lower level jobs.
Yeah, and I believe that with AI, these lower level jobs, like if you take the most obvious example out there, look at any McDonald's pretty much in the world right now. 5, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, definitely. How do you order your McDonald's? You had to go up to the till and speak to someone. Now they they tell you just use the self checkout, or they'll make up an excuse and say, "Oh, the card reader isn't working. Just go here and use this." It's these are the low level jobs, but equally, and a point that you made that I'll kind of something that I've looked into. Everyone thought that the creator economy was going to be the last one to be touched, but the developments and advancements in AI, in my view, is getting rid of a load of these jobs. You can now replace a team of 5 sales development representatives and use AI tools. You can use AI marketing softwares, and a lot of it comes from the brain. So that's where I think the gap, the people at the top, they're going to be strategic, and they're going to be thinking, I need someone who's a specialist who can oversee this. And you pretty much just need a manager now to make sure everything is singing, and you've got all of these LLMs and the agentic AI models are working all together. That's where I see
Yeah.
the next 12 to 24 months going. And I really believe that the best businesses, that the ones who are forward thinking, they're going to be implementing all of this, and the ones who don't, their profit margins are going to get squeezed. The others are going to be able to lower
Yeah.
prices, retain way more profit with these systems in place. Talking about that concept, how are you guys looking at using AI right now? I know you've got a pretty well put together stack.
Yeah, we're always trying to use AI, and we have um, a new kind of initiative that we're doing in our weekly team meetings, where one of our team members gets assigned to research and then present on a new AI tool and how they used it and how it can help the team. And then there's sometimes we'll do a personal AI tool. But I think, and going back to what you were saying about having the LLM models and the agents working, I think the one question in my head is, how far down does the pyramid go? You have your your agents, and then you have your manager of your agents, and then it's like, how far up can you go until it gets to the executive or C-suite level? And and then at that point, can you even get your C-suite AI agents? But going back to the question, we're using automation. QuickBooks is what we use for our bookkeeping. So QuickBooks has a new AI feature that not a lot of people know about. They've been using OCR technology, but
What
they're
is
starting to
OCR?
incorporate. It's like object cognitive recognition. It's like it's where it will pull data from a PDF and enter it, right? So Adobe is a great example of using OCR technology, where you open a PDF and it kind of identifies the words on the page,
Sure.
kind of straightens it. You can search, look up a word, and OCR is how you're able to do that. But what you can do in QuickBooks is upload an invoice. It'll automatically enter it into the books, and then you just have to click approve. Just now, of course, we're seeing a lot of errors in the early stages, so it's not perfect. And that's just the bookkeeping side of it. Of course, there's rules, and there's rules which allow you to say, hey, when a transaction is this, this has this description for this much, go ahead and enter it into this account. So that's big. And that's what a lot of these new AI bookkeeping companies are doing, is automatically categorizing things. But there's a level, it's very basic. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're using. But on the accounting side, everyone wants to know, well, when is accounting going to be all AI? And right now, it's kind of solved the problem for cash basis bookkeeping, but not accrual US GAAP. And I think the number is 32 million. I know it's over 30 million in revenue where you have to be accrual basis US GAAP. GA, that's generally accepted accounting principles here in the US. So cash basis doesn't work for any company that's doing more than that revenue threshold. And internationally, GAAP is used, and also IFRS, which is the international standard. So that's one thing. Of course, we're using ChatGPT every day. Um, Started using Manus, which is really impressive, out of China. And I created an onboarding checklist, uploaded our branding, immediately gave me just asked a couple follow-up questions, gave me a link that I can use and send to our clients. So I probably could go on. We're using Clay for marketing, which it's game changing.
Data enrichment to next level compared to what you were doing.
Yeah.
The information
It,
that you can pull out about prospects and pain points and whatnot, so personalized.
and cheaper too. You get like the, Zoom info started and just breaking the bank, and a lot of our clients would use Zoom info, but which is like, it's more just data, but to being able to enrich the data with AI and for cheaper. So I think AI is also bringing costs down. Like,
Mhm.
people are using AI for free, and even the $20 a month tools uh, is just, it's next level what it can do.
So, for you as the director, how do you see that impacting? Maybe they don't want to hear this, but how do you see this impacting your team? I know that you've still got headcount targets that you want to hit by the end of this year, but do you? How are you looking to save costs essentially?
Yeah. So we're still hiring our experts. We have a really strong team in the Philippines. They're CPAs. They have Big Four experience, audit experience, and of course, over time you'll be able to slap an agent on and ask it to do some things. But there's a really strong trust component in accounting where you need someone, a human, processing payments, approving payments. Cybersecurity is such a big aspect of that, because you may have an AI solution for payments or bookkeeping, but it's only a matter of time before something gets hacked. You know, Quantum computing, people aren't thinking about, but if I implement all this AI and someone comes in using quantum computing, hacks us, a bunch of payments, our client's money is missing, payments are going to the wrong person, then we set it up wrong. So it's not at a point where it's trustworthy. So where I see AI saving us, it's not replacing anyone right now, but it's saving us for hires long term,
Hmm.
is in the financial analysis space. You can drop your data in, it can analyze as a CFO would. You got to just give it the prompts it needs. Actually, we're connected to a guy that just started a tool. It's not live yet, and I can't recall the name of it, but it's you drop in the data, it will create a financial report and have a girl or a guy going through the numbers, just like very clear, looks like a human, and they're going through the analysis. So that replaces senior financial analyst, financial, really on the FP&A side. So I think that's the first big one for us, is FP&A.
I think there's a lot of trepidation and fear in the market, but as you said, people it's the classic play on words idiom, which is people work for people, and you want to do relationships and business with people, not just AI. And it's a case of having people who are competent managing those processes. And if you can use AI to do 50 or 80% of the heavy rock lifting that you're going to waste your time on doing, and then you're just making everything look tidy and it polished together, then that's fine. And then that means that when you do pull in a team member, the average revenue per headcount increases because they can do all of this stuff from before, which was 80% of the value driver. Now that 80% is taken away. So now they free themselves up for this 20%, which is, look at the Pareto principle, they're just working on it. Theoretically, in my view, it just means that you'll be able to save with future hires, yes, but equally in tandem, you can increase the revenue per employee. And that's where the really clever businesses are going to be thinking of, now we're using these tools. Previously, before, for data enrichment, you would have had to pay a VA, I don't know, 20 cents per person line, or it really depends. And then you're relying on, no disrespect, someone who you're paying the equivalent of maybe $5 an hour to help you produce personalized lines. And quite classically, and we've done this for our clients manually, and now we're doing it in a personalized fashion with Clay, data enrichment, all of these stacks that we put together. But you just know off the bat what's going to give you a better outcome. It's have a look at this website and pick out a unique selling point about this business. And it's just, you said, it comes down to the prompting. So the engine is only as good as the sum of all the parts, and that's how you build a Formula One vehicle. If you don't have the right parts, then you might have a Nissan. Please don't sue me.
Yeah, for real. But it helps. It also helps with sales. Like, I mean, of course, back, we're still doing this, but reaching out to prospects, how do you bring them in? So now the friction point to get them some kind of exciting piece of marketing material, you could use AI to build something. Hey, we did the research on your business. Especially for a marketing space, like, hey, we like this for you, or you even bring like a list to a client where it's like, hey, these 10 people right here need your services. And it definitely makes a small team look like a big team really fast, and that's the impressive part.
100%, 100%. That's the exciting part as to where the future's going. And we've seen, and you see guys online like Simon Squibb. We actually had his co-founders on the podcast back end of last year, start of this year. But
Okay.
there's this big shift away from people wanting to work for the big four consultancies to the gig economy, freelance basis, working with multiple clients. And that is, are you familiar with Naval Ravikant?
I know the name. I've heard him before.
You've probably seen him on Joe Rogan or seen his
Yeah.
lectures online.
What does he do?
He's the founder of AngelList, which is one of the
Okay.
biggest. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So, he's the founder of AngelList. It's worth a few billion now. And he's essentially just turned his hand to philanthropy, philosophy, anything that you can put a fee into, he's there. And he talks about leverage and creator economy, but he essentially said that the biggest winners are going to be the people. He's got a concept called the modern era of leverage, where you've got before, the innovations were tractors replaced humans, right? But then what happens to those humans? You might have had 50 people working in a farm that's been replaced by one tractor. Population growth has increased over the last 100 years, quite evidently. But the unemployment rate in the US is what, 4.2%, give or take? So it's like, well, where's the equilibrium? Where's the balance? People just find new things to do that are generally higher value. So people moved away from the tertiary sector to the primary, secondary. To his point, you had labor traditionally was the main way how you could form leverage. I work for you, you pay me, I do the job, that's it. Then we've got capital, which you know probably better than anyone that I've had on the podcast. It's how do you make money work for you? How do you get creative with what comes in? How do you retain more of it? And then you've got content. So we produce a podcast, you get maybe 15 pieces of content out of it. And then the top, which is the most scalable, which is why the biggest companies in the world right now are tech companies, is you leverage code. And AI is essentially the magnification of this pyramid, and it's essentially being adopted by consumers at a rate that we've never seen before. And you mentioned about quantum computing, that's like 10,000 levels above that. And when that comes out eventually, which they're probably going to gatekeep for another 50 years, that's just going to blow everything out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah, and people, and that you make a really good point. People think that, AI is just to replace people, and really it's not. It's to build, and of course we're just gonna make bigger and better things. People also think that AI is the end. They're like, this is it. Like we got there. We got robots, we got, computers doing our work for us, agents. It's like the Matrix, you have your agent. Um, but quantum computing is here, and quantum safe computing is, protecting or quantum safe encryption is here because the quantum computing, the quantum hacking, and all that is starting to happen, and the speed, and it all comes down to speed, right? Um, you can go a lot faster than you could have gone 10, 15 years ago. So there may be a lot of opportunities, but there's also going to be a lot of threats. And so we're going to be defending ourselves. So like I think the real question is what's after AI and quantum? Like it's I feel like it's just going to be unbelievable. And the question is how long? Like we know the dot-com era lasted, it's been what, like 30 years, 20, 30 years since AI started. So what is the next thing after, I guess, flying cars, right? We'll be flying cars and robots in everyone's home and
Well,
auto,
that's projected to be released in the UAE within the next 2 years. That's pretty much
crazy.
where people can pay for stuff off plan. So yeah, you
It's
look at
nuts.
yeah, you can look at like where it's at, and just your point about AI. The computer has been around since, well, the internet was invented in 1993. That was fantasized, ideated years before. But AI initially wasn't known as a concept in 1956. So that just shows how long the
Right.
gap has been. It's been what, 60, 70 years since
Yeah.
nearly since it was first thought of, and it's taken this long to adopt. And you could argue that, well, I mean, the rate in growth now the technology is there. It's just like an avalanche. You've just got a snowball going down a mountain. It's compounding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair. We have a client that's invested in Figure. It's a robotics company. So,
Okay.
you've seen the Tesla robots, but if you go to Figure's site, they have a video of two Figure robots in a kitchen. Someone brings them the groceries and they say, "Hey, sort these groceries for me in the fridge, in the pantry, on the counter for the fruits." And it goes through and it puts everything exactly where it belongs in two grocery bags, and even ends with like a lunch. It's like a pre-made lunch, putting it on the counter in front of the person. And this is real. Robotics is live across many industries. And people ask me, I actually had someone ask me this question, like, what are the safe jobs? And my answer is there are none,
No.
because even plumbers, when they start creating autonomous homes, there's going to be AI and robotics that are going to be able to make those repairs. You won't have to call your plumber up the street, which is unfortunate. They'll Those people that were doing that will end up doing something else, but no one's safe.
Yeah, and you're probably looking at 50 years time where, because infrastructure and housing is still, it's such a
Yeah.
big sunk investment for people to make changes. But the point about the kitchen, I know your wife's a chef, so at least that takes a job away from you, and then she's got her sous chef there to hand to help her do everything there. But as you said,
Yeah.
there's nothing there. And equally with, you've got Claude, or probably, for information and data and just research, you can, with the right prompts and commands, you can say, hey, be a McKinsey and Bain type of consultant for me and help me dissect XYZ pain point and look at this from this perspective. Or big problem that marketeers have is they're very choppy of what they do. Whereas if they adopted an agile project management methodology and they started to think a bit more coherently, they can just essentially process everything through AI and then just look at how they can develop things better. So I think, as you said, there's nothing safe, and fundamentally, we're just looking for experts to take care of certain domains for us. We don't want to learn everything.
Yeah, and it can help you prepare for what's to come too. I asked it a prompt. I asked ChatGPT like, um, assuming that AI is taking over, give me your brutally honest feedback on if we don't change, what will happen to our business. And it was like, it wrote um, this long, answer saying that all these things need to happen in our business in the next couple years, or we're gonna fail. And it ended saying like, adopt to change or die or something like that. So you could even do it for your business. Of course, you got to make sure the AI, the agent knows who you are and what your business does and all the aspects of it, and you give it all that information first. Can ask it like you said, Bain consultant, Kinsey. It can, it can be a big four consulting partner having that same mindset. I, what do you think of my life and Steven Spielberg's point of view? Like, what can I be doing different? I mean, the possibilities are endless for what we can ask it.
Yeah, it's exciting but scary at the same time. And classic, with great power comes great responsibility. So it's just figuring out how to be, I guess, ethical with what we're doing and very, very mindful of the outcomes.
Yeah, that's fair.
There is a lot there. So, kind of drifting away, and we were talking about physical challenges and Joe Rogan, and we were just talking before this podcast, and we had to pause because it happens quite often where drift into different segues. Uh, have you got any upcoming challenges? I know you did your jiu-jitsu competition in February. You said you want to do two next year. Is there anything else that's piquing your interest? Any other better way to ask the question? How do you see yourself growing in the next 12 months?
That's great. Well, I'm not having any more kids, I'll tell you that. So I got three kids.
How
That's
old are they?
plenty. It's two, four, and six. Beautiful, beautiful kids.
And I've got
I'm
more grey
blessed.
hairs than you.
I got a lot of gray hairs, man. I think it's just the lighting in here. But
Let's do the justice.
uh, there's the JJF Masters World in Vegas in August, at the end of August. My coach was asking me if I want to go. He asked me a couple times. My wife seems to think I'm gonna go already. I
Will
kind
she
of
do it
hit
as
my
well?
I might.
No, her, your
Um,
wife.
oh, her? Yeah.
Does she
Well,
train?
no, she doesn't. She doesn't.
She's got the
Maybe
genetics for it, so
I know. She may at some point, but she's kind of old school. She's like, I'll let my man watch over me and take care of me. Uh, but that's one that I may do. I think acquiring a business, either a book of business
nice.
or I think that's going to be our next step in growth is, you know, we're probably going to, in the next 12 months, be anywhere from 20 to 25 employees. We're only about 15 right now. So between that and acquiring a book of business, really just optimizing, um, our business to be, in the millions in revenue.
Any specific
Uh,
businesses you're looking for? Any certain sectors, niches?
Yeah, something in accounting. So we have a really just solid, proven method. Our margins are great and our systems are great. So it's kind of that private equity model where you have your SOPs, they work really, procedures just work really cleanly. And we can take a book of business that, let's say it's bookkeeping, handful of bookkeeping clients. We can bring that under our roof. We can remove a lot of the unneeded expenses, like, we don't need a building, we don't need office space or utilities. A lot of the G&A goes away. That's why I'm thinking a book of business makes most sense. We can upsell them with FP&A work, accounting operations is another big one. Accounts payables and accounts receivable management, being able to invoice and enter bills and pay bills, controlled payroll processing up to, fractional CFO work. There's a lot more that we can do that maybe those clients are not getting.
Yeah.
Um,
Converging services altogether.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that all-in-one solution is, I started AdaptCFO about 7 years ago, and that we've we've always had the all-in-one kind of fully outsourced accounting and finance department as our main focus. And so now we have such a strong team where we can do a little bit of everything, as if they were full-time employees of that company.
Yeah, I really like the fractional CFO model, and I had to go through about 4, 5 guys until I found my guy, and with him, I'm so loyal. I've been working with him now since mid 2022, and I've referred him on. And as you know, accounting is such a referral heavy business. It's like yeah, everyone talks about it. The dinner take me home. My accountant sent me $5,000 or whatever. And you just like licking your lips, and
Yep.
it really pays its weight in gold. You can have a guy who's there, who knows it, is savvy, is sharp, is on the ball with stuff. Hey, I just saved you this, or have you thought about doing this, or if you made this strategic decision, this would probably be an implication that you haven't thought about. And I think that's really the difference between a CFO and just a guy who, I mean, there's a big difference. Like there's accountants a dime in a dozen, but someone with
Yeah.
financial focus is looking at your best interest and helping you with those blind spots. Would you say?
Yeah, and a lot of people that's absolutely right. And a lot of people will say a controller or an accounting professional can become a CFO, but there really is a fine line between managing compliance and being reactive and looking at historical data versus being proactive and looking at the future and optimizing for your future goals. And so I do a lot of fractional CFO work, and we have a CFO bench, and our CFOs are anywhere from like 30-year-old tech CFO that has gone through an IPO or helped with just financial reporting and executive meetings and optimization of margins and all that stuff, up to a very experienced, you know, public CFO that has gone through an IPO or reverse merger, and someone that's very advanced. And our fees are super reasonable, but they're also, if you want someone on that lower end but still going to add value for a small business, you can get it. It might be an overkill to get someone on the higher end.
What let's say I'm an entrepreneur business owner right now and I'm thinking, Eric, love what you're saying. What's the first book that I should look at reading if I want to get savvier with my accounting and finance?
Mm, that's a really tough question because there's a lot of great ones. Um, so
We'll
and
throw
the,
a few
and
out.
yeah, so I got a really good one, and this will help on both the personal side and business. But it's called The Compound Effect.
I've read
It's
that.
probably been out like 20 years. You've heard of it, by
I've read
Dan
it. Yeah.
Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just that penny example, compounding a penny.
Yeah. Day
Yeah,
31 is worth like $10 million.
yeah, it's just simple. But there's another book. It's outside of finance, by the Arbinger Institute, called Leadership and Self-Deception.
Okay. Leadership,
And
self-deception.
a lot more people need to read that because it teaches you how to get out of the box. Like, a lot of us have this mentality that, Joe feels a certain way about me, or, you know, his attitude, or my coworker is always mad. And the reality is, you don't know what everyone's going through. So it just teaches you to, get out of your egotistical mind, step out of the box, and be more empathetic, and get on the same level plane as that person, which is great.
So, a
Yeah,
question to you on that. Why is
yeah.
that book important for accounting? Why do you think the lessons there are applicable to finance and accounting?
Yeah, it's a little less on finance and accounting. It's more for being, just a team member, a coworker, a leader. Accounting and finance, you're not going to find a good accounting book that's like I'm not gonna advise you to read any accounting books. Go watch some YouTube videos. But on the finance side, the compound effect, some people, like I have the Dave, what's the guy's name? Dave Ramsey, the Total Money Makeover here, and that one's good, but I don't think it's great for everyone because he went through a bad experience with debt, which
Uh-huh.
caused him to kind of be anti-debt. For businesses, debt is leverage and helps businesses grow. So that may be good for some people on the personal side, but not for businesses. I would probably recommend more what's this called? The I know I got it somewhere. The Principles by Ray Dalio.
Yeah, yeah. Principles is a very strong book. Have you read Profit First?
No, I haven't. I have not. I've heard of it though.
That's
It's good.
um, I was in Thailand actually, and I was talking to he's a friend of mine now, Australian business owner, and he said it to me, and I was like, oh, I've just finished reading it. And he's like, but it basically talks about splitting your accounts into four, so you the principle, like the big principle from it is um, whatever you earn in a month, say you earn $10,000, take away 1% of what you earn. Just throw that into the profit first account. He said,
Hmm.
if your business if your business is like not functioning and a percent is killing it, then you don't have a business essentially. So if you just throw 1% every single month, talking about the compound effect,
Yeah.
that compounds, but it's like whatever you're going to make, percent's not going to kill any business realistically, unless you're making a loss, obviously. But focusing on that and then having different pots, so your income pots, your operating expenses, tax pots. I remember reading
Hmm.
this book, making all of these accounts within my bank. So, okay, I know our
Yeah.
VAT bill is going to be give or take this amount. Our tax bill is going to be give or take this amount. And how many businesses do you hear close down because they got their tax wrong or their bills? And you just think, no offense to them, but you're a fucking idiot, man. Like, how can you had the money there? You just chose to go to Vegas and spend it.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of over leveraged businesses and they don't, and depending on markets, I could probably tell you a number of stories, but
Go
yeah,
on,
you
give us a
gotta
good
expect,
story.
man, well, I won't give you any names, any company names, but COVID was a great example of like things were going really good, a lot of growth, and something changes in the market or an industry or the economy, and you got to fire everyone. So that's one just situation where we did not have the money to keep or sustain those employees because we weren't thinking that far ahead. Um, so then you got to go and let go of everyone. There's really no other option.
Yeah,
Um, I think that's a key example. And there's a ton of different courses and um, there's the Great Game of Business, which is it's like a way to operate your business. There's EOS. There's a lot of I read less books on those things. I'm more just like study them. Of course, with AI these days, you got your own coach and teacher online.
yeah. No, definitely. There's limitless. You mentioned a few podcasts that you've been tuning into. My First Million. Is there any other podcasts you recommend?
I'm really just listening to Joe Rogan and My First Millions. I'll kind of swap between the two depending on who's on. I just heard Oz, the mentalist I was telling you about, just blew Joe Rogan's mind.
Is that the guy
And
who guessed his pin number?
yes,
Yeah, I saw that clip online, and you could tell Rogan was like, "Yeah, get this guy out."
yeah, yeah. And at the end, he kind of said, like, "I've never seen anything like this in my life." And you got to watch the whole thing. It's interesting. Um, I don't. I mean, shameless plug, we're starting a podcast called Growth Under Pressure. So I'll be listening to that one very soon.
Yeah, I want to listen to it myself.
And we got to have you on.
Pleasure. I'd love to be on. So what's the idea? What's the timeline for it?
We're coming out in July.
Okay.
We have two recorded. I have another two or three scheduled, another five committed. So I think we're going to come out with about four in
Okay.
July at once. And then we'll do bi-weekly episodes after that. Really just diving into entrepreneur stories, CEOs, or even CFOs that have gone through a growth phase and what that time looked like, how they were able to grow under pressure. I mean, we've all gone through it, and it's the real, it's unpacking the reality, what it looks like when you're actually in the trenches.
Yeah, yeah. As you said, and that's that's where I wanted to come from. We wanted to come from when we were building this podcast. Is there's so many vanity projects out there, and guys who are talking about this is how I became successful, but the reality is that most of the time you're just eating glass, and the highs and lows. You sign a really big 12-month contract, and then client drops off because they've got a family bereavement, something that's happened recently with me, all
Yeah.
in the space within a week, and then this breaks and this breaks, and it's like, why is it worth it? But it's a cost benefit analysis consistently with
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, the sacrifices people don't realize, you just hear your Instagram videos, wake up, dip your face in some ice water and get up and meditate and do that, and you're going to be successful. But you get into fights and arguments and lost clients. And we have a client who he'll like himself, he like won't sleep on his bed if he does something wrong or something goes south. He'll like sleep on the floor. But this is also a guy, he's, like typical entrepreneur, Ivy League dropout, ended up, founding a company in his early 20s and sold it and has written a couple books. Uh, but, these mentalities of all the different people, and I want to get to that, I want to have a success story as well at some point,
Yeah,
but you just tap into these guys and understand what they're going through mentally and the challenges. Everyone say, oh, this person did this, they were a UFC champion, but you have no idea the years and years of struggle and resilience they had to push through.
well, that's what we started with at the beginning. It's hyper specialization and what is the cost you're willing to pay. For some people, there was a guy who I spoke to last week. Just such like I came off a conversation with this guy. He's in Brazil. Just seems so happy, and he just said, "I'm quite content with where I'm at. I think in the next 2 3 years, I want to finish my business and work on charity projects." And for him, that's perfectly fine. But someone else would listen to that and think, "I'm not interested in that." And it's about knowing where you want to roughly be at as a ballpark happiness wise, and saying when is enough. And I'm I don't know anything about this guy, but I'm sure if he had a wife and she was saying, "What on earth are you doing sleeping on the floor?" Most women, most partners would not be happy if you were like, had a pretty bad day at work. I'm going to sleep on the floor now. It's a bit, yeah. But
Yeah,
it works for
it's
him.
definitely it's definitely aggressive. You won't catch me sleeping on the floor, um, even on a mattress. I mean, I will. I take that back. But we like it's first world problems, I say. It's like, we like our comfort, and it's good to push and get yourself out of that comfort zone, and also see what other people are living like, and what they see as success, because success also doesn't mean that you have to be a multimillionaire. You could just There's a lot of people that don't have a ton of money, but they're super fulfilled. And what's your price? Really, what do you want in life? That's the real question.
Yeah, no, so much so. Pick your poison. Look at it's. I was actually talking to my mum today. She said one of her friends had has to move out of London, who's 63 now, because she can't afford it. And I said to my mum,
Bro.
it's rough. She's Spanish, moving back to Spain, doesn't want to. But that's where you have to find the balance. You have to find your ikigai, if you're familiar with the Japanese concept.
I've heard
But
it.
it's like finding something that you love but actually pays the bills. So this woman was I don't know, like a recce, something like that. And it's like, the thing is yeah, you love that, but if it's not paying you enough to live, then maybe take a step back. Like, I love, like, okay, a great example is jujitsu. You see jujitsu coaches, bar a few who go out there, teach seminars throughout the world. If you run a school that's got 50 students that's paying $50, $100 per member, let's say it's $100, that's $5,000 coming in.
Yeah, it's not a
That
lot.
it's a job, and you lose. COVID happened with my jiu-jitsu school. Everyone stops, and a few people just making monthly contributions because we love our coach. Big shout out to Martin. Um,
Hmm.
the point is sometimes you need to assess, does what I'm doing facilitate my life fundamentally? And if you're a single guy, then maybe, and you're in the right part of the world. But it's finding that balance of, am I doing what I love, and does it actually pay the bills? Because they're such different things.
There was a book I read, actually, going back to your book question, it was like the Ten Commandments of wealth. I
Ten
can't recall
Commandments.
the exact. It's like the Ten Commandments, but ultimately, I grew up Jewish. My background is Jewish. My grandfather's a Holocaust survivor, and everyone always asks, why are Jews rich? Why are they wealthy? And there was one of the first commandments in that book that kind of just said, like, we don't see it as abstract. Like, we see decisions for wealth or growth or more revenue as a need, as a means to an end, right? Like, if I charge my clients more, I'm not going to feel guilty about it because there's inflation, the economy, all these different reasons for it. So I think that a lot of people, they drive their business through emotion and fear, and I think that was one big takeaway, is like, some things you just got to do, like unfortunately letting someone go. Like, I could keep someone because I really like them and I may see growth in their future, but if I keep them on, the business is just going to lose money. So
Yeah, I've
there's
just
some.
pulled them up now. I've never ever come across this, but this is fascinated me. To the Ten Commandments, that it always starts with thou. Thou shalt pay thyself first. Shall spend less than thee earn. Uh, shall make thy money while thou sleep. Own, not rent. Learn a language of money. Interesting. Embrace long-term thinking. Amazing. Leverage, what we were talking about.
Hmm.
Protect downside. And then the last two are solve valuable problems. Hopefully, we do that for our business and clients.
Hmm.
And then play the inner game. Money mirrors your mindset. Scarcity fit, basically what you're talking about, or ego will sabotage you. Wealth begins at the mind. Discipline, belief, and emotional control matter more than spreadsheets. That's powerful. Wow,
Yeah. An older book, it's not super exciting, but
that's a
yeah,
powerful information.
yeah. And it's really just mindset and culture too. Like, you talk about Brazil, they have this family first mindset, which is amazing. They take breaks in the afternoon. They're, little nap time after a
Resting.
big lunch, you know. It doesn't mean you have to work hard, but it all comes down to mindset. Um, but yeah, it's a lot bigger than that. There's many aspects to unpack, with how people are successful.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about South America, and I came back a month ago, literally today actually. Um, spent 5 months there, but
Nice.
you just feel the pace, the vibrancy is a bit slow. It's like, and I was training for the ultra marathon that I told you about. So I'd be running
Yeah.
down. I would literally go. I would run to jujitsu, do jujitsu, and then continue my run. And there was one time I had a friend there who is a really successful entrepreneur. Um, we were going past this rock that we would hang out at, So I just randomly called him and said, "Hey, I'm by here." He's like, "Yeah, I'm by here." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll meet you here." So I paused the run and continued afterwards. But
Hmm.
I said to myself, I was like, "Are you ruining this experience? Are you always being on the go?" It's like you could have just settled for a run, then jiu-jitsu, and that's it. But chose to continue to run again afterwards, and I wasn't bothered about breaking up. But you just see everyone's just by this beach drinking beers, and he said, "Oh, do you want to come for a few drinks?" And I was like, "Nah, sorry, I need to get back to work." It was a Tuesday
Yeah.
afternoon. Watch the sunset, and I guess it comes back to what you were saying. It's what price are you willing to pay? Are you sacrificing the short term for the long term? According to this book, it's the right move. But it's just finding that balance because these memories are important.
That's another thing that sports that I've taken away from sports is discipline. That's, I can eat the same meal every day. My wife gives me shit about it, but I'm like, I mean, she appreciates it and values that, but she's like, I don't know how you do it. I can't eat the same thing in a row, but that that discipline, and of course, like if it's good to have discipline, you can still live a life that's different than someone else. With discipline, you can still have your goals, but when you have discipline behind you and you have goals and you have milestones to hit that, there's no reason why you can't achieve what you really want. And that's you should always be pushing towards that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think talking from the perspective of a man, when I hear, for me, I read every single day. I haven't taken a day off for over 5 years now.
wow.
And a girl said to me, "Oh, just read tomorrow." And I was like, it's just like, and maybe this is like egotistical, but I really don't care about it. It's women are attracted to certain characteristics, and if you're a man who starts saying, "Yeah, you know what? Actually, considering what you said, it's you do that once. Okay, there's certain things you can have negotiables on, but for me,
Yeah.
in my opinion, if you have non-negotiables, it doesn't matter if the King of England came to me and said, "You can't do this today." Well, with respect, sir, this is my thing, and this is it. And it's just having that unwavering discipline, no matter the circumstances, that you get your stuff done. If someone needed an oxygen
Yeah.
mask you put on, then you put it on, no matter what anyone else says.
Yeah. You gotta have that foundation and that discipline. The reality is you are gonna have those challenges and those external threats and the things coming at you, the wife, the girlfriend, the kids, daddy, babe, let's go do this, let's do that, and your parent. I mean, it's always gonna be coming at you. So the question is, what does your foundation look like?
Yeah, no, so much so. Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure. What's next for you, apart from the podcast, which you can plug again, and where can people find you?
Yeah, man, this was fun. So, Eric Josovitz on LinkedIn. I have the Growth Under Pressure podcast. I have AdaptCFO.com, and can email me, Eric at AdaptCFO.com. I'm on Instagram, Mr. Josovitz. Uh, that's pretty much it. Trying to build up our channels though, and then we got a YouTube as well. That's AdaptCFO YouTube channel.
Amazing. Well, we'll put all the links in the description for people to find. Eric, once again, thank you.
Yeah, brother, this was really fun. Looking forward to next time.
Pleasure.